It's Christian B here in Burnaby and Vancouver. Burnaby, Vancouver-based realtor. Welcome to Rapid Fire Real Estate, where I take you through half a dozen topics, spend a couple of minutes on each, and you can take that knowledge, that intel out into the marketplace with you. Okay, so for today's video, we're going to start off with tenants and taxes. Again, changes coming from the provincial government this week. No sooner had I pushed publish on my recent video and they changed the rules again. So quick primer. We're going to talk about mortgage requirements for properties over $2.5 million. We're going to touch on a conversation, an interesting one I had with a colleague who said the cities are really trying to dissuade development of fourplexes, and I'll tell you how. Fifth, a quick note on if you're buying a car and a house around the same time, how you should time it. And last, looking for a deal on a penthouse in downtown Vancouver? Well, there's one that just went into foreclosure, $500,000 less than what it was listed for just a few months ago. So I'll share a little bit of background on that with you. Okay, let's jump into topic number one. This is on the tenant restrictions, tenant rules. The provincial government, as you may know, end of July had issued a 4-month notice to evict tenants. Well, it's obvious they weren't talking to anybody because the BC Real Estate Association sent the NDP government a letter and said, time out, guys, slow down just a minute here. You are actually hurting low budget buyers. Buyers who are what we call high ratio buyers. That's somebody who has less than 20% down. And if you only have 5% down, you have to get an insured mortgage. And to get an insured mortgage, when we are writing an offer, we have to say that you are taking vacant possession of the property. You are not assuming a tenancy. This becomes very important because the timeline for mortgage approvals are about 90 to 120 days. And after that, you don't have an approval anymore. And so clearly, a low budget buyer who needs an insured mortgage would have been hurt the most by this. One mortgage broker I talked to said, I'm just going to tell them I can't give you the green light to remove the financing condition from your offer. In other words, he was saying, I'm going to just tell my clients, if you're a high ratio buyer, you cannot buy a tenanted property. You got to stay away from them because I can't guarantee you financing 6 months from now. Big problem. This could easily have been averted if the provincial government had made a couple of phone calls. They would have known that this is hurting low budget buyers. But anyway, the BC Real Estate Association, plus I guess a few other groups, got in touch with the provincial government and said, guys, slow down. You've got to make a change here. And credit to the government, at least, that they made that change. They backpedaled and they made the correction. Because imagine the risks to a first-time buyer with 5% down. They close, the tenant is finally out 4.5 months later. Broker says, hey, guess what? You don't qualify for a mortgage anymore. Not good. So obviously that has changed. So now it is a 3-month notice period. So we went from 2 to 4 months. Now it's 3 months. Hopefully that'll be it for now before we get any more changes. Topic number 2, quick primer on taxes. Remember, as of January 1st, 2025, you got a new tax brought to you by the Victoria government, and that is going to be a flipping tax of 20% if you're selling your property within the first year of owning it and making a profit on it. Other taxes, of course, if you are selling a recently completed pre-sale, let's say you bought it and you bought it for $800, you're selling it for $900, you're probably going to have to pay it 5% on the $800 to $900. Why do I say probably? It may depend on other circumstances. You touch base with your accountant. I do not play one on the internet. But also a really good buyer's agent like myself is going to write in the offer that the seller is responsible for paying any outstanding GST on the property. So that's why. Okay, moving along. Topic 3, mortgage requirements on purchases of over $2.5 million. If you're buying a house, let's say you want to go into a very nice neighborhood like Point Grey, maybe it's Edgemont in North Vancouver. There's also newer homes in South Burnaby. All of these are going to exceed $2.53 million. And the requirements are up to $2.5 million. It's a 20% down payment requirement, or $500,000. Once you exceed that, the down payment requirement rises to 50%. So from 2.5 to 3.5, that's you're getting $500,000 from the bank, $500,000 from yourself. So you're a $3.5 million house. The minimum down payment here is going to be $1 million. Okay, and you're getting the rest as a loan. General rule of thumb is bank's going to give you about 5 times your income as a loan. So if you're making $500,000 a year, you would qualify potentially for a $2.5 million mortgage. And that's usually people like doctors and lawyers, people who own their own companies, work for themselves, are able obviously to get up into that category. And of course, most couples are buying with 2 incomes as well. So if they're 2 software developers, you can see how they may be able to climb into that category as well. Note, you can get exceptions from time to time to your file where they can which can help you purchase a higher amount and or with slightly less down payment. You may have to have a lot more savings in your bank account. For example, if you had $200-300 in savings, brokers may be able to get you exceptions. And they may be able to get you other types of exceptions as well, but you have to have a lot in savings, I would say. Okay, moving along. Interesting discussion I had with a longtime real estate agent. I've been in the business for decades, and he had an interesting take on the development charges coming from the municipalities. And his position was that municipalities are trying to dissuade builders from building fourplexes. And so they put in a poison pill, which is development charges that are astronomical. So in Burnaby, for example, a half duplex has gone from $15,000 to $84,000 per unit. So you imagine putting a fourplex on a single property, the developer's looking at about $340,000 in development charges alone. And I won't get into all the other charges. We've talked about that in other videos. But that was his view, and I thought that was quite interesting. Now, I don't think the cities are going to come out and speak on record about it. But you do see cities like the West Vancouver, which is really dragging its heels, which doesn't want to move forward with fourplexes because it changes the character of the neighborhood. All of a sudden, these single-family detached neighborhoods, leafy, tree-lined streets, nice and quiet, walkable, take your dog out for a stroll at 8 o'clock at night when the sun is going down. You'd have so many more residents, more street parking, it gets busier, noisier, and a lot of residents are not going to like that. And so his position is the cities are going to charge a lot in development charges to dissuade it. I'd love to have, if anybody works for the city or if anybody has opinions on that, I'd like to get your opinion on it, and if you could leave that in the comments below. Topic 5, this came up recently with a couple that I met at an open house. If you are looking to buy a car and buy a condo at around the same time, always go for the home first, the car second. Why? Because the bank is going to take your car payment loans, if you have them, let's say you have $700 every single month, they're going to subtract that from what your home affordability is. So if you qualified for a $3,500 a month mortgage, but now you bought a car 6 months ago, they're going to subtract the debt that you owe, just like if you had credit card payments, if you have student loans, etc. They're going to subtract that from your payments on your mortgage. And that drops you from a $3,500 to a $2,800 mortgage, which could be a completely different product. You might be going from a 2-bedroom to a 1-bedroom in that instance, right? So you can still have both. You just have to do it in the right order, okay? It's just like baking a cake. You got to do it in the right order, okay? Same ingredients, right order. Last, okay, we had the party Penthouse downtown. Are you looking for a deal? So there was during the pandemic, you may have caught glimpses of news headlines about a penthouse downtown on Richards where the gentleman was having parties with sometimes up to 199 people inside. Well, this guy, I think that the governor of BC launched a civil forfeiture because they questioned where his down payment came from. And anyway, he listed his home for sale in the fall of 2020, and he had it on. It's an interesting case study here in having a good attitude and how a bad attitude can lose you $500,000, even more. So he bought this thing for $3 million in 2019. And then, of course, started having these parties during the pandemic with as many as 200 people there. Was issued fines of $17,000 by the police. and eventually started to reduce the price of his penthouse. So we started at $3.2 million, and when he listed it in 2020, it was at $3 million in 2022. And was listed at $2.5 million in 2023, last summer. I know that he's had offers probably in and around that range. I know that. And didn't take them, didn't work with those groups. And now he's been foreclosed on. So it means all the power has been stripped away because the lender is selling the property for him. So basically he has no say in this at all. And the property is now listed at $1.99 million. Had he just had a better attitude, he would have made $500,000, and maybe even more, and he wouldn't have had so many fines. It's just an interesting case study, and how not to do life. And apparently, this person was an investment advisor in a previous career and has been fined and has been banned from that career. I'm not going to get into all to the details of it. That's not pertinent to a real estate discussion, but it just speaks to kind of having a little bit of common sense, thinking things through a little bit here. There's no reason that you should ever have to take a loss to this extent, but this individual obviously threw caution to the wind with regards to laws and norms, and well, he's paying a financial price like you wouldn't believe. Folks, anyways, hope you found some value, and if you've got any opinions, leave those in the comments below. As always, if you are in needing help with buying and selling, contact us or call us. Info below. Thank you, and see you next time. Bye.